What's going on, people? It's Cullan from the Central Club podcast, and I am bringing you something new. This is my reaction, Central Club reactions. I'm going to be reacting on anything from current events to topics that you bring forward that you think that I've got some valuable input to. So I hope you enjoy this.
The Central Club.
Okay, so what I'm going to react to today is the early prison release scheme that is going on here in the UK right now. So last week I come to the end of my 2-week holiday, and I was called up by Radio 5 Live to go on the Steve Nolan show to have my input on what I think of the early release. So, you know, if you're a fan of the Central Club and you've been about a while, you'll know that my past as a drug addict led me to prison, and I've done quite a few prison sentences, which I'm not proud of course. Now, they wanted to know what I thought of the prison early release scheme as a whole, and also what I think about sending prisoners to Estonia. So I'll break this down first of all. I'll just give you my reaction rather than what I said on the show, because what I'm going to tell you now is exactly what I said. So I think personally, as a former heroin addict who went to prison only for funding my drug addiction, that prison was never the way for me. Prison never worked for me. And if anything, after my first prison sentence, it made me realize that prison wasn't a deterrent. It was a pain in the ass. It was inconvenient. But it was also a lifesaver for me in terms of it kept me alive. You know, when you go on those benders for so long, sometimes being locked up for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or even years will save your life. It will keep you alive. So it was just more of a favor, and sometimes I needed that, you know, to calm down. But it was never, there was no rehabilitation for me with prison. I would spend most of my time just dossing around in my cell. You know, I'd go to education. I was never offered any decent work, which normally those type of jobs are working on the wing as a cleaner, or working on servery, or working on the laundry, or being a gym orderly. They're like the most popular jobs. I was never ever able to go for them. And even though when you go in on your induction, you do your entry-level courses to see what you're able to do, and depending on your levels is what you're given. Even though my levels were decent, level 1 and 2, which is the highest, I still was never given that opportunity. And I just think it's because of my name, to be honest, because my surname, especially in local prisons here in Wales, are always tied to my uncle, who he is institutionalized, and he is a security threat and quite notorious to the prison system. And I just think they tied me together. And I think it's, you know, the face fits as well, you know, and my face didn't fit. So I was always in like education, whether it was a music class or whether it was an art class, you know, or tea packing, which is the worst job there, you know. But even when you have those high level jobs like working in the gym or working down laundry, there's no opportunities coming from that, really, is there? You're not going to, you know, say you was a drug dealer and you made good money off drug dealing. You go to prison for a couple of years and you land a laundry job. You're not really going to go out and, you know, set up a laundrette. You know, I'm not saying that you won't, but, you know, 99.9% of people wouldn't do that, you know. There are, of course, rail courses out there for people. But again, I was someone who offended for my, you know, for my drug habit, and it was always petty level crime, which meant I never done any longer than a year. And to go on the rail course, there's always a waiting list, and there's always, you know, you have to be in a certain amount of time to be able to go on those courses anyway. So I think there's not much rehabilitation in prison anyway. And I think that if you have a drug habit like myself, and, you know, the courts, your probation, your drug workers know that, which they could tell, I don't think prison is the way. I think rather than this being a restorative route. This needs to be a rehabilitation route. This needs to be a health matter rather than a criminal justice matter. If we look at the prison system and we look at how many people are in prison, over 50% are in for drugs, drug-related. Now, of course, if you're a drug dealer, that's different. But what I'm saying is people who go in for, domestics, they go in for violence, they go in for drunk and disorderly, or your addiction, whether that's shoplifting, burglary, it's all related with drugs. But it never ever worked to me, and the majority of people that I've been in and out of prison with who have a drug problem, it's never worked for them. So I think personally, to tackle this problem of the overcrowded prisons, we need to look at another route rather than prison for these people. Now, I'm not saying that all the crimes that I committed should just be writ off. I'm not saying that. There should be some sort of punishment, but I don't think that prison is the way. Do you know that here in Britain, we send more people to jail than anywhere else in Europe? We are bang up happy. We love to just send people to prison. And I'll give you an example of this. I spoke to a young chap who's living on the streets in Cardiff at the moment, and he just got sent to jail for an offence he committed 6 years ago, which was stealing a leaf blower because he was homeless and he was looking to find some money to get his head down somewhere and to buy some food. He went to jail for a leaf blower. But then you have some people who go to who get a slap on the wrist for much more serious crimes. So we need to look at who we're sending to jail. So when they said to me, "What do you think about this early release thing?" I said we could tackle this by really looking at who we're sending to prison and looking at other supportive routes. There was times when I went to prison, right? I'd go to court and my solicitor and the drug community team were both saying we recommend him to stay in the community. We believe we could help this person. But then they would still send me to jail. So there was no continuity between the both sides anyway. We need to really look at this, or otherwise, releasing a couple of people early is not going to sort the problem. We're going to have the same conversation in a couple of months' time. Now, if you want to look into what's going on at the moment, where we had the riots, of course, I do not condone any rioting. I definitely do not condone any race hate, attacking mosques or attacking people of different races. I think that is totally unacceptable. But what we have seen is people go into prison for, tweeting stuff, retweeting content. We've seen people go to jail for, I think it was verbally abusing a dog. We've seen people go to jail for pushing a council bin towards a crowd of police officers. But then we're seeing people get released for much, much more serious crimes. And you hear them say, yeah, but these people, they only had a year left on their prison sentence. But what kind of message is that sending? And again, I would rather keep the person out who have sent a few tweets than the person who has actually committed a serious crime. We also have this conversation of sending people to Estonia. Well, a lot of us know now because this is at the forefront of things, but we can't even deport illegal migrants who are coming in by the hundreds each day, but they want to then send people to Estonia. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. I mean, there's definitely some sort of undertone vibe with this that myself don't feel easy with, but I could just imagine now that, if it was me 5 years ago that I committed a crime, I went into a co-op and I nicked a couple of bottles of alcohol, and the next thing you know, I leave court, I'm in a meat wagon, and they're about to tell me you're going to Estonia. I cannot comprehend that, and I think we need to look at who we're sending to jail, why we're sending these people to jail. We need to look at other ways of supporting these people, because they're just going round in a circle anyway. I've heard one case of a person who was released early and he's already back in jail for a serious crime. This is definitely a concerning matter. It's something that needs to be looked at as soon as possible. But from my take, releasing people early, okay, I understand that the prisons are full. We need to really look at who we're sending to prison in the first place and maybe, just maybe, we will have more spaces. What's going on, people? Really sorry to crash midway through this episode, but we've got an important announcement to make. As you know, from day one, we have been giving you exclusive content week in, week out. And we've even built 3 studios from scratch, which has been a bit of a graft, to be fair. Well, now we're asking for your help in return. We promise to give you exclusive content, behind the scenes footage, reaction videos, and documentaries if you really support us by signing up to our Patreon. The description is below. Stay central.
The Central Club.